Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. So, I know I haven't posted anything for about 2 months now. I initially took a break from YouTube because of exams, and then just didn't get back into the swing of making videos. My next planned video that I had started work on before my break was my Season 11 review, but I just didn't have the motivation to go back and rewatch the season to be able to give it a fair review, especially considering what I had to come after. Another video I had been working on and off for ages was this one, my own personal headcanon that I would use if I were to create a fan show on YouTube. And, as I had a lot more motivation to finish this in the Season 11 review, this came first. This is going to be different from my previous Thomas Canon video, where I tried to take the books and the show and shape them into one canon that fits nicely. Whereas this one is going to include stuff never mentioned or even hinted at in the original books. That being said, it is heavily based on Audrey's canon, with some TV stuff sprinkled in, along with some of my own inventions. We're going to start with the Skarloey Railway. This is pretty much identical to how it is in the Railway series, running from Crovan's Gate to Skarloey, with Skarloey being the first to arrive, quickly followed by Rheneas. Shortly after the railway opened, the owners of the railway decided it needed a rail link to either a harbour or the mainland. Since their company was short of money, they convinced the LNER to build a small standard gauge railway connecting Crovan's Gate with Barrow on the mainland. This line was operated by a small tank engine, who had no name and simply a number, 911756. He mostly pulled goods trains, but occasionally passenger services were run. A short while later, another narrow gauge railway was opened, the Midsodor Railway, operating between the coast at Arsborough and Peel Godred. At the start of World War I, the North Western Railway was constructed between Arsborough in the west and Crovan's Gate in the east. An engine from the Furness Railway called Edward arrived to help build the line, and was the first engine to work on it. Just after the railway opened, the section of the LNER between Vicarstown and Crovan's Gate was transferred to the North Western Railway, with 911756 being sold to the North Western Railway. As he was the first engine to run on any of the line, he was renumbered 1, although most people still called him by his original number, and Edward was numbered 2. 3 more engines arrived, Henry numbered 3, Gordon numbered 4, and Robert numbered 5. It was also around this time that the Midsodor Railway closed, with Falcon and Stuart being sold off, and Duke kept in a shed at the old station. With the Midsodor Railway closing, the section of the North Western between Teignmouth and Arsborough saw limited use. This, along with the fact that the North Western now ran to Barrow on the mainland instead of Vicarstown, so the main terminus had to be moved to the western side of the island, and Teignmouth was far better suited to a bigger rail terminus in Arsborough, meant that the section of the North Western between Teignmouth and Arsborough was closed. Sometime later, 911756 suffered a terrible accident while pulling a train of trucks that was meant for one of the bigger engines. With no money to mend him, and the railway being seriously in debt, the banks forced the Topham Hatt to sell him off for scrap, as that was the best option financially. The railway continued without a number 1, and then lost a second engine shortly after. While bringing a VIP from London to Sodor, Robert mysteriously went missing. His coach was found near Vicarstown by Edward, but Robert was never found. 3 more engines arrived on Sodor in the following years. The first was a tank engine called Thomas, who was given a number 1, and served as Teignmouth station pilot. The next was James, given a number 5, a mixed traffic engine. And the third engine to arrive in this period was inspired by a comment on my first engine on Sodor video. The northern part of Sodor was never serviced well by rail, and with the closure of the Midsodor and the North Western stopped running trains up to Arsborough, there was no rail network whatsoever in the north. A new railway company, separate from the North Western, was formed, and built a railway connecting Alsborough, Harwick, Peel Godred and Caldyfell. An engine from Japan was purchased and bought to run this line due to his experience with mountainous railways, and that engine was Hero. Arriving at the old harbour at Alsborough with no connection to the Skarloey or the North Western railways, Hero thought he was the first and only engine on Sodor, and the other engines knew nothing about him. Hero would later break down and spare parts from Japan never came. With no engine running the line, the railway was forced to close down, with Hero being kept in a siding near Peel Godred. There would later be a northwestern branch line up to Peel Godred, explaining how Thomas found him. Following events happen roughly in the same order they do in the books. Other engines come, the next two being Percy and Toby, and the rest follow in the order you would expect. The one major thing I've changed to make everything work comes mainly from Unlucky Tug's classic era map videos. I've got Arthur's line as the line up to Harwick, but in Sodor's Legend of the Lost Treasure, the branch line is being built to Harwick. I'm going to say that sometime between Season 8 and Lost Treasure, the Harwick branch closed, and in Lost Treasure they're building it again. As for the Fat Controller's line about it being the first time his railway's gone to Harwick, well, given how much I messed around with stuff earlier, it's easy to ignore throwaway one-liners. But if I had to give an explanation, there are officially 3 and unofficially 4 Fat Controllers in the Railway series, so maybe this Fat Controller only took over after the former branch to Harwick was closed, so this is the first time the railway went to Harwick under his ownership. So before this video ends, I'm just going to run through the separate lines, who works there, and where everyone sleeps. Lots of engines are going to be said to be sleeping at A or B. Wherever they are depends on where there's room, where the last train that day terminated, and where their first train from the next day departs. The Skarloey Railway has Skarloey, Rheneas, Sahandel, Peter Sam, Rusty, Duncan, Duke, and Ivo Hugh, who all sleep at Crovan's Gate. The Caldyfell Railway formerly had Godred, and now has Ernest, Wilfred, Caldy, Shane Dooney, Patrick, Alaric, Eric, and they sleep at Kirkmacken. The Arlesdale Railway has Bert, Rex, Mike, Frank, Jock, Blister 1, Blister 2, and Sigrid, and they sleep at Arlesborough West. And now for the Northwestern. The main line is run by Henry, Gordon, James, Emily, Rebecca, Bear, and Hero, who sleep at either Tidmouth, Vickerstown, or Barrow, with Ari and Bert being station pilots at Tidmouth, and Philip being station pilot at Vickerstown. You've also got Diesel as a sort of station pilot role at Kildane, but he's more in charge of the Peel Godred branch line, which meets the main line at Kildane, and he sleeps at Kildane. Thomas's branch line is run by Thomas, Percy, Toby, and Mavis. Mavis sleeps at the quarry, Toby sleeps at Knapford for Farquhar or the quarry, and Thomas and Percy sleep at Knapford or for Farquhar. The Arlesborough branch is run by Duck, Donald, Douglas, and Oliver, who sleep at Tidmouth or Arlesborough, and the Harwick branch is run by Daisy, Arthur, and Ryan, who sleep at Arlesborough or Harwick. Although, due to them running onto each other and the shortness of each, you often get Arlesborough engines on the Harwick branch and vice versa. The Norranby branch, a spur going down to Norranby connecting to the main line at Crovan's Gate and Vickerstown, is run by Molly and Paxton, who sleep at Crovan's Gate or Vickerstown, with Molly mainly taking passenger services and Paxton goods. Stanley is the station pilot / works engine at Crovan's Gate. And finally, Edward's branch line, run by Edward, Boko, Bill, Ben, Timothy, Salty, Porter, and Rosie. Bill, Ben, and Timothy work at the Sodor China Clay Works, and they sleep there. Salty and Porter work at Brendan Docks, and sleep there. Boko and Rosie sleep at Wellsworth. Boko helps Edward run the line, and Rosie is station pilot and works engine in the yard at Wellsworth. Edward obviously runs the line and sleeps at either Wellsworth or Tidmouth. Thanks for watching everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. I promise that this 2-month gap isn't going to be a regular thing. I will try to get back to weekly uploads, and should have my Season 11 review up by next week. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And what do you think about my headcanon? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you have any suggestions of what could fit in? Be sure to let me know in the comments down below. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram by clicking on the links in the description, but that's all for today. I will see you next week.